The Acolyte has been spamming my feed, with the show getting worse and worse with every episode being released. Let's find out how we got to this point here by exploring all the previous failures. Small hint, it's all connected and has been coming. I remember 12-year-old me in the year of 2013 hearing that Star Wars was going to be returning to cinemas in the form of a new movie. I've been watching all the trailers, every explainer video you could find on it to try to find out what else there was to it. Look at this shot of the broken down Star Destroyer. I wonder how it got there. Look at this new lightsaber. Wow, how exciting these times were. The film introduced new characters like Rey, a scrapper who mysteriously is connected through the Force in an unseen fashion, Finn, a former child soldier turned rogue stormtrooper, Poe Dameron, the best pilot in the galaxy, and Kylo Ren. Bearing a new mask that looks so similar to Darth Revan's, it would literally make a longtime Star Wars fan wonder about the potential connections there could be. Doing all that while also bringing back beloved figures such as Han Solo, Leia, and Luke Skywalker. The nostalgic elements, including the return of practical effects and familiar settings, played a significant role in rekindling the magic of the original trilogy for many fans. After The Force Awakens released, everyone thought, yeah, Star Wars is back, and who could have thought it would be all downhill from here? There was criticism at the time, like the fact that it's almost beat for beat the same movie as A New Hope, but those critics were quickly overshadowed by the sheer amount of excitement and plot points to be resolved the movie built up. Plot points like, who is Snoke? Why did Kylo Ren turn to the dark side? Why was Luke on a remote island? Where did the First Order come from, and why are they so powerful? These questions were left for the next movie to explore. The most anticipated movie of 2017 for sure. After the high beats of Star Wars Rogue One, surely this one will be a banger, right? Star Wars was at its peak at this time after the relaunch, but yeah, this is the peak and it's about to drop down like my stock portfolio after investing my 4-year savings into meme coins. The Last Jedi is the first movie that showed that Disney and the employed leadership at Lucasfilm, and she who should not be named, actually had no clue what made Star Wars great. The movie seems more like propaganda and pandering towards an audience that isn't the Star Wars fandom, rather just furthering an agenda. We've all heard 1,000 reasons why The Last Jedi is awful, but let me summarize the 5 points that really annoyed the fuck out of me. 1. Character assassination of Luke Skywalker. This is the most prominent one. Luke Skywalker's portrayal as a disillusioned and reclusive hermit was a betrayal of his character arc from the original trilogy. Instead of the hopeful and heroic figure who was believed in the goodness of his father, Luke was depicted as someone who contemplated killing his nephew Kylo Ren out of fear. In his sleep! That's like me wanting to become a professional football player. I get Ronaldo as my mentor, but because I'm getting so insane as a player and about to be better than him, he decides, instead of letting me take his throne, to instead fucking assassinate me with ninjas. Is this far-fetched? Yes. And if that wasn't enough, Luke dies. He friggin' dies not having accomplished anything. The most prominent character, the main character of the original trilogy, comes back after not being on the big screen for almost 30 years, complains on his island about how much of a failure he is, and then, as a last act of heroism, saves 20 people from a cave. 2. Every plot point built up in The Force Awakens is resolved here, and not in a good way. Who is Snoke? Doesn't matter, he's dead and you better get on with it. Kylo Ren looks like Darth Revan. Nah, get that shit out of here. We need to see a handsome guy. Where do Rey's powers come from? No clue. But here she is, even stronger than ever before, without any training from Luke, might I add. See a pattern here? I do, and we'll resolve it later. 3. Admiral Holdo and Rose, just awful characters. Jar Jar had the decency to look and talk funny at least. We knew he was disabled without his actions already. 4. The hyperspace ram. There are so many things wrong with this, but the most infuriating part is, it breaks Star Wars continuity. This is something that Disney will be doing a lot, so strap in. 5. Leia's resurrection. The Force is being mishandled in so many ways here. These are just some of the points on a long list of things that really make this movie awful from a Star Wars fan's perspective. Can it be saved? No. I was gonna leave it at that at first, but my hatred for this movie couldn't be held in. The way and fashion and complete disregard of previous built-up continuity and how the Force works were taken to yet another level in this movie. Palpatine returns. How? Yeah, they're not explaining it because even they don't know. Rey can shoot lightning now. By accident. Every Sith Lord must feel really stupid having to study the art of the dark side for months and years to master this ability. If only they had tried to be really angry like Rey. It would have been so easy. Force healing has always been a thing in Star Wars, but it used to only heal burn wounds and small cuts. Never to the extent that it's used here, literally re-healing impaled organs in seconds and reviving Kylo Ren from the death. Why was it supposed to only be able to heal small things? Because it being able to heal literally everything is fucking stupid. Why would any Force user that masters this ability ever die unless you cut off their head? Surely Mace Windu could have just healed himself back from a cut-off hand and some lightning burns. Force healing should be on page 1 of the training manual of the Jedi if it was this useful. Wait, according to Disney, if you're a strong female character, you don't need training. It just comes to you naturally, because that's how insane it can be. Gone are the days where the Force works in mysterious ways and could enhance a proficient wielder a lot, but now it's just a superpower where everyone can just do what would be convenient at the time. Why would Disney and She Who Shall Not Be Named disregard everything built before it? Move forward a couple years, after the tragedy of the sequels and a lot of bad PR, Disney was able to relaunch again with the help of the Mandalorian TV series. It took Star Wars back to its roots, introducing Baby Yoda and fan-favorite characters like Ahsoka, Krayt Dragons, Tatooine, Bo-Katan, and Boba Fett, having survived the fall into the Sarlacc pit. They did everything right, brought Luke into the second season and showed just how much of a badass he was, completely respecting the source material. Boba Fett, after a great introduction in The Mandalorian, he was surely going to be getting his own TV series. Unfortunately though, no one could have thought it would be wasted on this piece of trash. This story is boring. They make 2 episodes of a 6-episode series just about The Mandalorian and Baby Yoda. It doesn't really explain why Boba Fett wants to take over Tatooine, nor what his connection is. Does being devoured by a Sarlacc and having spent time with the Tuskens really make someone go, yeah, now I want to rule the planet where all my favorite things are? The once ruthless character of Boba Fett is a soft crybaby now that wants to serve peace and harmony. A literal mass murderer being turned by Tusken Raiders is a far stretch for me, and also makes this character a lot more boring. We don't need another good guy. We want to see a badass space assassin dealing with problems in that realm. Not this random stuff he does in the Book of Boba Fett. Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen are making their grand entrance into Star Wars again. After last being seen in Episode 3, fans were hyped for them to pick up their signature roles in Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker / Darth Vader, respectively. The structure of the series was focused a lot on how Obi-Wan wasn't too proficient in the Force anymore, not having used it for a long time and being in hiding from the Empire. It slowly shows him finding his way back to being a Jedi again and how he'll end up as Ben Kenobi. This all while being chased by Darth Vader. Sounds like a simple but good plan, right? Well, the execution was very poor. The main problem I have is the lack of focus on the relationship between Vader and Obi-Wan. They're on opposite sides now, after having been so much. The short dialogue in the last episode makes up for it slightly, but other than that, the series is filled with so much boring plot point, some of the worst characters. Oh, and another disregard of how the Force works. Let's see, Mr. Qui-Gon Jinn, how did you die? You got stabbed through the stomach. Yeah, that sucks, man. Here's Reva, a youngling, and she gets stabbed through the stomach. Guess now, is she dead? No, of course not. And not only once, twice. She gets stabbed twice and survives? That's not clever writing, nor does it further the plot. Like, why even have this in there? Just make her escape or something. Why stab her and just go like, yeah, she's fine, just wounded. I'll rush through this very quickly as there isn't much to say. It's just boring. It's not a crime against Star Wars, it's just very dull. Nothing happens. They bring Gideon back in a fancy new Darth Vader suit and fight dumb monsters. It's so skippable. And so we have arrived at the Acolyte, which had to conduct another crime against the established Star Wars community. The previous crimes of disrespecting old Star Wars characters and not really having interesting stories written out for them have been bad, yes. But here, they get a whole new series to take a look at, being based in a timeline far away from all else. In Episode 3 of The Acolyte, we get the possibility that characters were conceived via the Force being introduced. This undermines the unique status of Darth Plagueis, who is canonically known for using the Force to create life, as mentioned by Emperor Palpatine in Revenge of the Sith. This process was supposedly very difficult, and a first of a kind, thus creating Anakin and bring the Star Wars story of the Chosen One into existence. And Disney, in The Acolyte, once again just uses it as a casual ability everyone has. Why was this such a necessary plot point? There surely was another way to write this script, right? So this is the final nail in the coffin. According to the messy Disney continuity, we now have witches making babies with the Force, Obi-Wan and Luke being depressed hobos, Darth Vader never having beaten Obi-Wan, spaceships destroying entire fleets by ramming them with hyperspeed, surviving stab wounds no matter who you are, healing people back from death, and death becoming meaningless in general. It does leave you wondering, is this for the betterment of Star Wars, or is it so far detached from the roots it set out on and alienates all previous fans of the franchise? I really hope that someone with a set vision for Star Wars comes in, stops playing politics and trying to make everything as PC as possible, and rather just focus on creating great Star Wars content. I don't think Star Wars is unsavable, but it's in really badly managed hands right now. Hands that lack a strong direction and grasp of how to run a movie franchise with a pre-built continuity without breaking said continuity constantly.